be painting this canvas today for you guys. It's part of one of our fall art kits that you can actually purchase on the website if you want to. So I'm super pumped to be painting this for you. And I'm going to be talking to you about all kinds of amazing color mixing and all the tips and tricks for making this a amazing canvas. And if you don't want to purchase one of our art kits, that's totally cool, guys. You can definitely, I'm going to try to get you guys a little bit more centered, maybe. You can definitely do this on your own. So for a class today, we actually drew it first and then there we go. We drew it first and then we painted it. So this was like our version in class today, which I feel like turned out pretty similar, right? So we drew it on watercolor paper. We used watercolors in the background and in the vase, and then we used acrylics on the rest of it. So we did a really great job. I'll be posting pictures on that from class today, just so you guys can see too. I'm going to attempt to put my paint here and try not to get paint on my uh, tripod here. So that way you guys can kind of see me mixing colors. I have a feeling I'm going to wind up with it on my tripod, but that's okay, right? That is okay. That's just what happens sometimes in the art world, right? So maybe if we bump this back just a little like that, then we can bump this forward. Yeah, there. Woo! I am just on one. Okay, there we go. All right, perfect. So now we're going to start with our background first. Okay. And I'm just going to go like calm. I'm just going to keep it calm. I think I might do a white with just this like little bit of reddish brown and white and kind of orange, just all mixed together over here on the side. And the reason why I want to keep my background pretty calm is because I'm actually going to bring color in the middle over here. Then that way I can, if I get a little bit of paint on something it doesn't belong on, it doesn't matter, right? Now I am using a bigger flat brush right now. The art kit does come with a bigger flat brush, so you want to use that one to start with. When I'm painting a bigger space, I hold my brush further back if I'm just trying to keep it like real loose. But then whenever I get closer to things, I will slide my hand down the brush where I'm a little bit closer to the metal. Now, I don't like to go down here into the metal because it never fails. I wind up with paint all over my hand, right? Now, the nice thing about choosing a lighter color, like I said, if I get it on something I don't mean to, it's really no big deal because I know that I will paint over that later with the paint that I'm using on whatever I accidentally got paint on. Like I got paint all up in this, no big deal. We will totally fix that later. So right now I am just trying to kind of work around all of this. Definitely need to go in the middle here, around these guys. There we go. And just kind of keep working my way around. Now, if you don't like the black Sharpie lines that come on the canvases that are in the art kits, they're already pre-drawn for you. If you don't like that, every chance you get, you want to paint over those black lines. So like I can purposefully kind of go back and try to cover those up. Now, if you do like the black lines, then try to stay away from them as best as you can. And then you can go back at the end with the permanent marker that's included in your art kit and retrace all of those black lines. Sometimes that looks really nice and it brings it all back together again. If we can go back and retrace those lines. Now, sadly, I ran out of that color I was using. So now I've got to try and make it again. So you always want to make sure you make plenty when you, oops, see, that's not right. When you mix up a color, because otherwise, if you run out, it's really tricky to match it up again. There we go. And then, like I said, we want to kind of get that paint inside of things where the background would be. Go. Now, again, this looks a little sloppy, but we're not even going to stress about it. This is where I find adults have many panic attacks and they stress when they get paint where it doesn't belong. But we're totally not going to stress about that because when we go back and we paint our leaves and our bow and our vase and all the things, it's going to be okay. Now we need to decide about where our water line is. So let's say I have water in my base to about the bottom of this line right here. That means I need to fill in the rest of the vase with the background color that's behind it, right? Because my vase is going to be see-through. So I need for that background color to be back there. Now I like to paint my edges. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the paint all the way around the sides and across the tippy top. Now, as you're painting your background, you're probably going to notice like these little bitty baby white spots. And that means that you've got to add more paint to your brush. It means you don't have enough paint on your brush and the texture of the canvas is starting to show through. So now that I've got my left edge, my top, my right edge, my whole background, go painted, I can move on to my table color. So maybe I want to go with like a wooden table color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little bit of brown and water. So what I did was I mixed water in with my brown and I am going to again. Oh, what was I got to bring my, oh my gosh, duh, Kimberly. I got to bring my wall color down to my table line, right? But anyway, you can add water to your acrylics to thin them out. And then what happens is it gives you this much thinner paint that almost appears to be like a watercolor. It's just like a cool little technique that I'll do sometimes with my acrylics if I'm trying to fill in a bigger space or go for a softer look. I'm going to paint that edge and I'm going to paint this edge. Now, if you're enjoying watching these paintings, you can definitely go to um, our YouTube page and look on my playlist. And I have so many acrylic paintings on my playlist. There we go. Now I got to fix that one spot right back here. There. Okay, kind of blend that in now. There. So now we have our table, we have our background. And then if I wanted to, I could totally switch to maybe like a medium sized brush and use it with just the straight brown this time. No, it's not watered down. And do just like really sweepy type brush strokes. So I'm holding my brush further back, kind of really do like add some texture to my table. There we go. And if I wanted to be real technical, I could add like a little bit of shading underneath my pumpkin. So that way it looks a little darker under there. Like my pumpkin is making a shadow on the table. Now, if I wanted to, I could grab a little bit of black, mix that in with some of my brown, and go back in and add even more texture to my table. And try not to make all your texture lines like perfect. Because if it's wood, like, the wood grain kind of, I mean, it has some uniformity, I guess, but honestly, like, to me, wood grain is not just perfect, right? I'm going to add a little bit of this darker brown under the pumpkin, kind of really help with that shading a little. And of course, at some point, you're going to have to flip your canvas upside down if you're trying to do um, shading in there. There we go. Okay, so now I am going to start working on my leaves. So if I want to create some fall leaves on here, I'm just trying to make sure we don't have any comments. I can't, I don't think we do. Okay, you guys are gonna have to tell me where you're watching from. So if I want to make like some kind of fall-ish color yellow, if I grab a little bit of purple and I mix it in over here on the side of my yellow, see that automatically just like warms up that yellow, gives it a very fall vibe, right? And then I can use this and start painting in my leaves. And so I'm using my medium brush. I don't want to use my biggest brush for these guys. And honestly, you can kind of smush, pull, smush, pull, like that. There we go. And then work on, yeah, perfect. And then just kind of filling your leaf. There we go. And then I could use this color. Um, I don't know. Maybe on this little guy up here. I don't know what these are. I have some fake ones at home, and that's what gave me the idea. But at home, they're like these little fuzzy pom pom looking balls, but I don't know what they really are. There we go. Now, with that same kind of mustardy yellow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, and I might need to make a little bit more. So let's grab this. Let's make some more. Whew, I think I did too much purple. Okay, now grab some of this, move it over here by our orange. Now grab a little bit of orange and mix that in. And so by using that yellow and now mixing in the little bit of orange, it just kind of gives us a softer, more fall orange instead of like a vibrant, bright, uh, summery orange. Like I feel like the orange, just like it was definitely more of a um, bright, summery orange. Now, if you don't have orange, you're going to want to mix um, start with yellow. So our mustardy yellow that we had, and then just add a little bit of red in at a time until you get the kind of orange you want. And that easy. So you just do a little bit at a time, and then eventually you'll get a beautiful orange that you want to use on your canvas. There we go. All right. Now, if you don't have a water cup close by, I should have already said that. You definitely need a cup of water. Don't use your favorite cup. Otherwise, oh, it'll be kind of tricky to clean. There we go. Sorry. Oh, hi, David. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Okay, so now I'm going to go from, so I started with the yellow, then I used my yellow to make the orange. Now I'm going to use my orange. Let's grab this and add in some red. And now we kind of make this orangey red color, right? And we'll do that. No, if this is dark enough, it's pretty bright. What could we do? What if we add just a little bit of green? Because red and green are complementary colors. So I can use green to darken red and red to darken green. So I add just the smidgiest smidge in there. Here we go. So I'm going to work on getting this leaf filled in. And again, if you start in the points and then pull your brush away, it's going to help keep your points a little pointier. And of course, if you need to switch brushes, definitely switch brushes. But so right now we're just getting like a foundation on. We're just creating a base layer. And then we're about to jazz it up. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go back to my first one. And you might think about grabbing a smaller brush. And I'm going to grab a little bit more purple and mix that in with my yellow that I was already using earlier on that very first leaf. And I'm going to use this even darker yellow. Now, if I put too much purple in there, it will go brown. So you have to kind of think about that. But now I can kind of, my yellow is still pretty dark, but I can kind of come in and do some outlining, just like so, and get this all kind of adding some like darker values in there. So it's not just so flat. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see that in there, but I added a few little extra veins, a little darker values. Now, if I would have let my yellow dry a little bit more, this would have popped better, would have showed up better. I'm going to add just a little bit of this in this bottom curve of that little foo-foo ball. Oh yeah, I didn't paint my other foo-foo balls. Okay. So I guess while I try to let these dry a little bit more, what I could do is go back to a medium-ish size brush. And I could, let's see, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, but I could do straight brown. And I'm swirling my brush as I fill it in, kind of trying to create like a little bit of texture on there, little dabby dabbies. I think the straight brown actually looks fine. There we go. Now, if you're not using my paint to create this from your art kit, then your colors may look a little different, and that's okay. You may not be able to get the exact same values that I'm getting, and that's okay. That's what's so cool about art is everybody's can be different and there's nothing wrong with it. Now, if I want to go a little bit darker, I grab some more black and kind of mix over here, oop, on the side of my brown. There we go. And then I could just sort of dabby dabby in the bottom of this one. There we go. Little dabby dabbies just to create like a little bit of shading there on the right side. These kind of look like peanuts. There we go. And then what I'll do is I'll come in with a lighter value on the other side. So we have a darker value on the right, lighter value on the left. Now I could go in with my baby brush again. And the way you darken up orange is you add a little bit of blue at a time. Now, ooh, that went green. And I have a feeling it went green because there was yellow in that orange. There we go. Just add more orange and that fixed it. Sometimes you just kind of got to play back and forth with your colors to get them to do what you want them to. All right, now I could use this darker orange, this brownish orange, to kind of come in here and hit these veins. You know, our leaves have veins, they got to get their nutrients. And in fact, that's why leaves change colors, is because they're not getting their nutrients because the days have gotten shorter. So the leaves are not producing as much chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is what makes your leaves green. And when the days get shorter, the leaves produce less chlorophyll. When they produce less chlorophyll, the colors that are already hiding inside, the yellows, the reds, the oranges, the purplies, those start to come out of the leaves. And that's how you get those kind of beautiful, like vibrant fall colors, is because the days get shorter and the leaves aren't producing as much chlorophyll. So there you go. The more you know. Now I could, let's see, I'm going to add a little bit more green to my reddish orange over here. And I didn't clean out my brush between my orange and my red because why? Right? Why? And then I can use this color to kind of hit these veins. And this is a super, super, super soft touch, as soft as you can, because if you're pushing hard, you're just going to make blobs. So you want to go super, super, super soft. And if it's blending too much and it's not laying on top, sometimes you can use the side of the bristles. So like lay the brush on its side and use that instead of the tips, and sometimes that will help. Okay, so we got all of those filled in. Now we can definitely get maybe some medium-ish brown, like add a little bit more brown into our dark. And ooh, maybe a little green too. Let's see. Let's see what we think about that. Little touch of green in there. So it's like an army green kind of. And what if, oh, that is a really thick line. Sorry, guys. Soft touch. We want a soft touch. There we go. Okay, so I'm trying to kind of go over all of these stems. And I feel like this one didn't get its line, did it? I must have forgot that line. There we go. Little oopsie there. Try to wipe that off a little. All right, so now we got all of our stems. And we can keep it real basic like this, or we could go in, maybe add a little bit more green. I'm going to add a little chunk of white. So a little bit more green, little chunk of white. And if we wanted to, we could add like, I'm trying to think where I want to go with this. Some like little kind of wispies in there so that it looks a little bit more full. Like it's got a little bit more going on. Now, you don't have to add these. You can keep it real basic, right? You don't got to add all this greenery in there. Totally up to you. You feel like it needs extra, go for it. All right. Then we could work on these pumpkins down here. So I am going to grab some, I don't know, maybe we'll do some straight orange. So I'm going to just put plain orange. Remember, you make orange by doing yellow and red. Start with yellow, add a little bit of red at a time till you like it, and make sure you make enough. This pumpkin isn't huge, but it's also not little bitty. So you need to think about that when you're mixing up your paint and make sure that you make enough. Okay. In order to get this pumpkin to look a little bit more 3D, we're going to try to do a little bit of shading as well. Notice that I'm trying to go back and kind of smooth out my brush strokes. There we go. Yeah. All right. Now I could take some of that mustardy yellow. We could try, let's see, and just add like a few little sweepy sweeps on the tops. So I'm doing the top of the pumpkin, trying to kind of create like a little bit of highlights in there. And these are real quick, like sweepies, like quick little sweep, sweep, sweep. It's almost like you're flicking your brush. And then I'm going to go across the bottom with maybe a little bit of this kind of reddish color that we used. And the nice thing about using colors that we used up on our leaf and incorporating them into the pumpkin is it creates some balance in the artwork as well. Just getting right down there close to the stem, make that a little darker. Okay, so little flicky flickies up. So the bottom should look a little darker and the top should look a little lighter. Now for my other pumpkin, ooh, what do we want to do? Do we want to go kind of light orange, add a pop of yellow in there? Or is that going to blend with our background too much? Pop of red, let's see. I don't know. That really might blend with our background. Okay, so I'm putting this color. And honestly, like, oh my gosh, there's so many cool, funky pumpkins out there. Do whatever color you want, right? So I'm getting this base layer put in on the pumpkin. Then I'm going to go in with a little bit of white and try to get it. This is a hard angle since I'm not like right in front of my canvas. I got the teensiest bit of white and I'm trying to just kind of flick that in on the tops to create like a little bit of highlights. There we go. And then maybe grab a little bit of that darker color from earlier. The same darker color that I used on my other bottom of my pumpkin. There we go. So now we have a highlight and shadow on our baby pumpkin as well. Thank you guys. Those of you that are watching, I love it. I appreciate it. I'd really love it if you would like or subscribe or follow or from whatever platform you're watching. That would be amazing. But you guys do you. Okay, now we're down to details. So I need to put away my medium brush and get my baby brush out. And I really love that green, little pop of green that I stuck in there. So what if I grab that for my stem? Or I could do a brown stem, totally. And honestly, if your stem looks kind of rough with the brush strokes, that is okay. Totally okay because these stems are rough. You could get a splinter from a pumpkin stem, right? The cool thing about this painting is, I mean, you could leave it up to Thanksgiving because it's not it doesn't scream Halloween. Okay, now I'm going to add just a little shine on the top of the stem, make that a little lighter. Maybe grab a little bit of red. Oh, that's too much red. Gracious. Grab more green. Okay. And use this little bit of darker down low. There we go. Yes. Okay. Now for my vase, we're going to try this. I'm hoping it's dry enough. It's dry faster, right? Dry faster, vase, dry faster. But you want your vase to be really dry. So if you have a blow dryer at home, you could definitely use a blow dryer. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use water and blue and do a really watered down blue. I could even add some white to that. Oop, about to drip everywhere. I could even add some white to that to kind of soften it up. Add a little bit more water. Now I have to be really careful because this could be super drippy. Oh, just stuck my hand in wet paint. Okay. And the goal is to paint and make it look like there's water in this vase. And you need to think about how high up do you want your water to go? But again, this real thin, watered down blue paint. I did add a pop of white in there. You got to make sure everything's dry enough to do this. If it's not, definitely go get a blow dryer. But now it looks like there's water in our vase, right? Okay. So next, I'm going to go back to my baby brush and I am going to, oh my goodness, spill watered down blue paint all over. I'm going to grab a little bit of blue, mix it over here with my white. So I make a real soft blue, or you could do whatever color. This line, I'm going to paint over completely. Maybe I want it to be more white. But this line, I want the stems to look like they're going in front of it. So I cannot paint a solid line over it if the stems are blocking it, right? So in order for the stems to look like they're going in the vase, I have to not cover those. I think there should be a line right there too. Yep. Okay, then we'll do the edge over here. And then we'll do this edge over here. Got that line kind of thick, didn't I? Try to be so gentle so that you have a nice thin, 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 thin brush stroke. There we go. All right. And then to make it look even more like glass, like you could add a shine on top, a little shine across the top there. Actually, I'm wrong. I think we should cover that up. Yeah, because that part of the vase does go in front. Yeah. And then I'm going to add like a little extra shine. There we go. That looks better. A little shine over there. And I feel like we should do like a deep red ribbon, maybe like a good fall ribbon. Okay, so I'm going to grab some green. I'm going to mix it in with my red because that's how I darken up red is by adding some green. They are complementary colors. There we go. And then I'll paint in my ribbon. Like I said, I'm painting over here on the side from an angle. It makes it a little trickier, but I guess that's good. It's good to challenge yourself, right? There we go. And then here. And then here. Oh, it's a little too much paint on my brush. Put some over here for a minute. There we go. All right. Woo! I'm like hardly breathing. I'm trying to stay in the lines. Make sure you're breathing. There. Whew. All right. Okay, now we're down to my favorite part is that we just gotta add pops of white. So I'm gonna go in with my baby brush. It's really clean, it's really dry, and I'm just gonna add like a pop of white there, a pop of white there, a little boop, boop, boop. These are quick little sweeps of your paintbrush so that we get little pops here and there. And not that these plants are going to have a shine because they're probably not. That doesn't seem quite realistic. But to me, it just adds a little bit of depth if you hit the tops or the sides and you just make sure it's the same on all of them. So like if I pick the left side, then it's the left side on all of it. If I pick the top, then it's the top on all of it. If I pick left and top, that's what it's going to be. So you kind of have to think about that as you're adding your little pops because you want it to like all be the same. Otherwise, it's not going to make sense. And your viewer is going to be like, what in the world? I don't understand. There we go. And maybe we can do just a little bit on the bow. All right. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Now I do need to fix this one leaf over here. It's bothering me. This one, this little bit of greenery that's supposed to be hanging over the vase. There we go. All right. So that, my friends, is a beautiful like fall bouquet that was on a pre-drawn canvas that you can totally purchase in our art kits if you ever wanted to purchase one on our website, artsybros.com. But like I said, we totally drew this out on paper in class today and painted our own version of it. And this is just on watercolor paper. We sketched it out with a pencil, and then we used our acrylic paints that we had on hand and filled them all in. So you don't have to, just kind of touching up this table line a little bit. So you definitely don't have to paint on canvas to get the same cool like effect. All right, there we go. And then see, I did my edges, the top. I do still need to do the bottom, but I'll do that here in a minute. But that is it, my friends. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had a great time painting this with you. I hope that you picked up on a little bit of the color mixing techniques and what colors I use to make this and that. That's my favorite part of painting is mixing colors. It's just like amazing. So, anyway, you guys have a fabulous evening. And like I said, if you enjoyed watching these paintings, I have so many recorded videos on YouTube that you can go back and watch. But you guys have a super amazing evening. I will catch you guys again in the next video.